Thank you, and thank you for holding your applause. That's terrific. Unfortunately, I can't take credit for writing the book that I'm promoting here. It was written by James Reimer, who died in August 2010 before he was able to complete the book. Not long before his death, he asked if I would bring the book to publication. He had already published a number of the essays that would eventually serve as chapters of the project he envisioned, and the entire project was nearing completion, but it was not to be. So I collected these essays, edited them a bit. I wrote an introduction to the project and also included a very fine foreword by Professor Travis Craker of McMaster University. If you'll allow me a word about Jim Reimer, who supervised my master's work. That formal academic relationship carried on in friendship, something that I don't take for granted. I didn't say much in the introduction on a personal basis about Jim, but let me say here that working with him was very, very important to me academically, the way he treated people, his engagement, and his interest. And so working with this manuscript in response to his request was a privilege in that it felt kind of like an extension of our conversations and even our friendship. And I continue to miss him. In editing this book, I tried to stay out of the way as much as possible. I didn't add any paragraphs to the text. I didn't add content footnotes. I didn't try to streamline things. So there's a bit of repetition that would have all been taken care of had Jim finished the project and so on, but we worked with what we had. So at any rate, the material written by Jim that appears under his name was written completely by him, and I even left in the parts where he's wrong about things. I'd like to have him speak for himself. Here's his description of what he tries to do in this book. The thesis of my political theology is that a theologically derived politics, not a politically derived theology, for those in the Anabaptist Mennonite tradition, ought to take seriously the biblical Trinitarian foundations for all Christian social ethics, but also the importance of engagement by Christians in public institutional life, including the political realm. Not only is political involvement a mandate for Christian, it is unavoidable. Those who deny the legitimacy of such engagement are being dishonest. They cannot escape the public sphere altogether, and we're all political in their own way in their communities and as a negative political witness to a larger dominant society. Academically, we, Mennonites, have justified our dissident peace position biblically, historically, and ethically, but we have not developed a systematic political theory in which the positive role of civil institutions outside the church is elaborated from the perspective of our historic peace church heritage. We have elaborated our Christian social ethics from within the womb of the church, usually as a form of negative witness to the state, but have thought little about the positive role of institutions outside church and parachurch organizations, participation in which requires ambiguous choices. It is this larger task in which I seek to articulate both a critical and a positive, constructive approach to public and political life and institutions to which I turn my attention. That's his book. There's exciting developments. For example, Jonas Cornelsen, the current student, is writing his honors thesis in doing a political analysis of this book, and I think it's a worthy book. Oliver O'Donovan, a very fine scholar from the UK, wrote this blurb at the back, which I think is quite touching, and I'll end there. These working papers, composed in preparation for a wide-ranging political theology, will certainly make us feel how much we have lost by Jim Reimer's death. Yet the result is not simply a might have been. They show us enough of his historical and conceptual inquiries to encourage us to reopen questions we may have thought closed, and to find more plausible the prospect of a convergence of radical and magisterial Protestant traditions, true to the commitments of both sides. I recommend Jim's book to you.